Hello and welcome to Creative Full Time. I'm your host, Alison Mullings, and today I have the honor of sitting down with Jesse McQueen, creator of Romeo Pimp. Romeo Pimp is getting its worldwide theatrical debut at the King Black Box Theatre in Toronto, and I am so excited to see it. In this interview, we talk about Romeo Pimp and its origin story. We talk about what Romeo Pimping is for those who don't know. And we also talk about what it means to be a creator and a writer, the good, beautiful moments, and the difficulties, trials, and tribulations of trying to be a creator and writer in this world. I love this interview. I love this conversation. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Before we get into the interview, as usual, please subscribe. It helps us out so much, and it doesn't cost you a damn thing. Alrighty, awesome. So based on your biography, I wanted to ask about when you got bit by the creative bug, because you went to post-secondary for the arts and that kind of thing. So so you must have known early on that you wanted to be in the arts.
I did. I knew really early on. It's one of those stories where I was very much the kid making the entire family sit down to watch the TV show that I wrote that was actually just me acting it out in the living room, but for some reason thought it was a TV show, and forcing my brothers to do it as well, and doing magic. Lots of magic was happening for a period there. So I don't know if I really knew what exactly I wanted to do creatively, but I wanted to be doing something that was a show. So yes, early on. And my parents were super confused because I was such a shy kid. They were like, why are you outside of the house? So they were like, how can you be so much here and so shy outside? So they sent me to musical theater camp, which was awesome.
Amazing.
Didn't help me get out of my shell, made me so much more nervous, but I really leaned into the acting. And that it kind of went from there. So I participated in mostly like community theater and camp stuff all growing up, and into high school I did all the drama and everything that I could, and I started writing plays then. Wow. And I was super into it, but it was never going to be my job. So when I graduated from high school, I actually purposefully picked the school I got into that didn't have a theater program, because I didn't want to be jealous of all the theater kids. And so I went to university. I went to the Western University for psychology and English language and lit. And it was fantastic, and I enjoyed studying it and everything, but it was not the thing. And when I graduated, I decided to finally just admit the obvious, and had spent my whole time at Western just doing plays outside of school anyway, and most of my time in the rehearsal rooms around the city, and decided to just lean in and go to theater school and do the thing, and stop being jealous of everyone who was doing it and just do it myself.
Amazing. That's awesome. And and you trained a little bit in New York and here as well, right?
I have, yeah. So I did my, the bulk of my formal training in New York City. I went to the Stella Adler Studio of Acting. So that was a 3-year conservatory full-time program, and that was the first sort of foray into like full-time training. So I had done a little bit of classwork and courses and workshops and everything like that. And Western, it did turn out, had a certificate in theater arts program. So it wasn't a degree program, but it was sort of an addition to our degrees. So I was so fortunate through that. I got to go and study at Stratford for
nice.
a summer, which was incredible, working with the teachers there, the Birmingham Conservatory faculty members, and students from other theater programs around Ontario. So we spent several weeks doing that over one summer. So that was sort of my intro to formal training. And then Stella Adler was the big 3-year full-time, nothing else, this is my life now, when it all started. And since I'm from here, I'm from Mississauga. So I moved back to Toronto and have continued training. And I think it's the best way to obviously keep things sharp and everything, but also to meet other creatives and be in the room doing the thing together. And you never know what comes of stuff like that. And so yeah, I kind of jump in wherever and whenever I can.
Amazing. That's awesome. And what was your biggest takeaway from the Stella Adler Conservatory?
Ooh, amazing question. I think it was ultimately how much it matters to bring yourself to your work. We, of course, did things so thoroughly, and there were so many, there's movement and there's voice and there's scene study and there are so many frameworks to learn. And the Adler Studio was incredible because they don't strictly adhere to only the Adler method. Of course, we learn Adler technique. That's literally one of the first year courses we all are in. But they, one of my most incredible teachers there, Sam Schacht, he had come from the Actors Studio, so his approach was Strasberg influenced, and just the idea that there is no one right way to do it, and you need to find you, and you need to find your way in, and that never has to look the same twice. It's always, who are you right now, and what are you bringing, and ultimately bringing yourself.
Amazing. I love that. That is awesome. Now let's get into Romeo Pimp.
Cool.
We'll talk about that. What is the origin story for Romeo Pimp? When did you start creating it?
Okay, so here we go.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. I read a story, a story written. Sorry, I'm like, I better prepare. Okay. I read a story written by a woman who, her own personal story, she wrote in her own words, about an experience that she had in high school. I read this, she had it published in Toronto Life, and it was the story of her being sex trafficked while she was in high school. And the high school that she went to was a 10-minute drive from my house. So she was in my neighborhood. She was a couple of years older than me. I had friends who went to that high school. I read her incredible, powerful, just incredibly important story. And I was struck by how I knew nothing about this. It had happened so close to me while I was also in high school. It was, by her account, happening all the time, everywhere, and I knew nothing about it. And this was back in 2020, at the beginning of 2022. And I couldn't stop thinking about it and about her. And I thought, maybe I'm going to try to write something about this. So I started writing a script, and it was a film script. And I had a really good friend from theater school, from Stella Adler, who was living on the other side of the country. She was in Calgary, and we'd been living in different places ever since she had left New York. She left New York a couple years before I did. I was there a few years after school working. And we had never been in the same place. And we tried to connect as often as we could. And I said, I would love if we started this idea where we just send each other pages of our work and meet to chat about them. Passion projects. I have an idea and I want to run it by you. And her and I started meeting and ended up bringing another friend in as well. And we would share 5 pages every other week together of our work. And so that is how this script was born, was me sending them 5 pages of this film script, inspired by this topic that I had learned about. So then in the winter of last year, I guess in December of last year, Sophie Ann Rooney of the King Black Box and Raw Actors Studio met up with me. She had seen a 1-act play that I had put on at their 24-hour play festival at the King Black Box. She had seen that one act play that I had written, and she was wondering if I had ever heard of Romeo Pimping. And I said, oh my goodness, wild that you would ask that. I've been writing a movie script about this on and off for the past 2.5 years. And it's a moment that still like gives me chills to think about. And her and I still bring up as like, what a moment that she saw a play I wrote that wasn't actually about Romeo Pimping, but thought there's something here that reminds me of a story that I want to tell, she was thinking. And yet I already had the seeds of something going. So from there, we decided to create that I would go and write a stage version. And it's become what it will be a week from today ever since. So that's a long origin story.
I love it.
But it has been a journey, and of course the story has shifted immensely. I mean, translating it to stage in the first place, and then of course just the way it's developed and taken on an entire life of its own, as its own piece. So that's its roots and its growth.
Amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah, that sounds so divine. The meeting and
it was
collaboration.
Unbelievable. It just, and I'm sure you've had these moments as well where you're just like, how is this possible? And yet I just trust that
yeah,
the art is, it finds a way. Yeah.
It really does. Yes. I love that. And Romeo Pimping, what is Romeo Pimping for those who don't know?
So Romeo Pimping specifically, it's a form of trafficking. It's a form of sex trafficking, and sex trafficking is essentially exploiting someone through force or fraud or coercion for another person's financial gain. So the thing about sex trafficking as well is like it's often underreported, it's underestimated, it's largely misunderstood. For the most part, we think of sex trafficking, human trafficking in general, we think of white vans and the movie Taken and Liam Neeson, a very particular set of skills, and these things. I mean, of course, there are versions of stories that happen so similar to that, but that makes it feel like something very far away, something very separate from us, something that's not happening right here in our own neighborhoods and communities and schools. And so Romeo Pimping is a specific form of sex trafficking where an individual is targeted by someone who poses as their romantic partner or a potential romantic partner. And the coercion is often at least starts through love and affection. And that is step one of the process that ends up leading to manipulation, exploitation, and ultimately trafficking. So a Romeo Pimp might pose as, and sometimes it can be a friendship relationship, but often it's a romantic relationship.
Right. Yeah, you're so right of how it feels like such a faraway thing, or this is something that happens in Hollywood or happens when you're traveling. It can happen, but oh no, not here, and it
Totally.
definitely happens here as well.
Exactly, and it like the statistics are. I think in Canada it's over 90% of victims are from Canada, and where oftentimes people don't picture that being the case. And it can happen to anyone. It can happen to often young people, but it's regardless of age. It's regardless of any sort of, there's no limit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so adapting this from a screenplay to a theater play, what was some of the trickiest things about that process?
I would say first and foremost, the trickiest thing was that I had already these elements of the story in my head that looked a way that just would never be possible in theater. So it was a matter of thinking about, okay, how can I have not necessarily the same scenario, but just the same feeling exist in a way that doesn't feel, that can just feel more immediate. I mean, I believe you are both a theater and a film actor as well, right? So it just, how can I have the same feeling? You know what I mean? When you're trying to think about like, okay, well, what is possible when we're all in the room together? And as I said, I come from theater first, so it is, my first love, my true love, and I think there's so much magic about it. But because I had pictured it in a way where we could be at, okay, now we're at school, and now we're at the park, and now we're at the police station, and now we're at this entirely, and we can jump around, and we can have things happen in such a different visual way. How can we bring those to the stage, and how can we, make sure that nothing gets lost in the journey, but instead gets to grow in this entirely different way. So that was one of the most challenging parts, was simply just having some images in my head already existing. But it ultimately just led to a lot of like beautiful problem solving. Yeah, which when you're in the thick of it feels, I'll never untangle this web, and then when you do, it's, oh, this is better than it started. At least you hope. At least you hope.
And why can't we just trust that will happen?
Right? And no matter how many times it does, you're always, it's like that, that diagram that always gets shared of the process of creation and creative. And it's like, oh, this is pretty good. Oh, this is horrible. Oh, okay. Oh, this good. Oh, this is, and it never ceases to be that way. No matter how many times you're like, no, it'll work out. It's like, it'll never work. This time,
yeah,
no.
You're like, I've learned so much from the last one that this will be smooth sailing.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's
exactly.
amazing.
And I would say, so that also just reminds me of a very specific instance where, in film, you also have the ability sometimes to say nothing and communicate so much. And in theater, of course, you do as well. But if I have the ability to take us from this shot to this shot, maybe I can tell the story. And then it's, again, just making sure that everything is, all the pieces are still there, that I'm not losing anything important, for everyone to understand and be able to be on board and with us when they are just experiencing it in the room. So yeah, those were the beautiful challenges.
I love it. And after seeing this play, what would you love people to be talking about or feeling after they've watched this performance?
Two main things come to mind. The first one is sort of what I would call maybe my North Star in writing this, is that there's a woman who I came across in my research. She said that human trafficking can be stopped when the public takes the power away from the traffickers. So let's keep talking about it. And so that's, for me, a North Star, for sure, of this project, is that research and awareness and education, they're obviously key to everyone just understanding and being aware of it, but they're also the key to protecting people, and especially young people, because survivors so often report or share that they didn't understand what was happening to them or know where to turn for help because they didn't have a name for it, or even really an understanding of what was happening, because it happens often in such a calculated but insidious, slow way where it just becomes entrenched, and suddenly you're there and you don't know where to go or to turn, is what so many of them share having experienced. So giving it a name and talking about it, and just bringing a broader awareness and understanding of how it can happen, versions of it that look, familiar in a way to us, like the signs that might not seem like signs until suddenly maybe they are, or maybe that they could be. But the other really important thing that I would like people to walk away with is hope. So I worked very closely with a woman. Her name is Jessica Crisp, and she is my lived experience expert and ethical storytelling consultant. So her and I talked a lot about how we can make sure that people walk away from this story knowing that there is hope, that there is help, that there is resources, and that people have futures and wonderful futures beyond their experiences as a survivor. So those are two things that I'd really love people to walk away knowing about, thinking about, and keeping with them after the curtain falls.
Amazing. That is so admirable that you're wanting to do this and put this out there and help in your way and in a creative way. It's beautiful. It's been
an honor, absolutely, to be able to, especially to be able to connect with so many, because there have been other survivors and lived experience experts and consultants who I've spoken to, and it's been obviously a deeply powerful experience that I'm so fortunate and honored to get to share with audiences. And I think the power of art is it just can never be underestimated. And especially theater, getting to share things really in the room together and having an experience in the room together that'll never look the same twice and can only ever be the moment that it will be on that day. And even, we're going to be performing this show for 3 weeks, and just I'm so excited, and as I'll keep coming back to, honored to be able to do that and to be able to help share a piece of people's stories that they want to bring to audiences, to other people, to their communities, to communities around the country, the world. So it's really special to be able to be a part of facilitating that.
Absolutely. Amazing. And with your writing group that you started out with, how did you set that up? Was it just a Zoom meeting every couple of weeks? You said every other week, every 2 weeks, right? 5 pages. So is it just
yeah.
you met up and talked about it? How is that set up? Because I think people should do that everywhere if you want to be a writer, is meet with other writers.
I really think so too. I'm laughing already because this has taken. It's been a journey of its own. So when we first started, Farron Delsey is the friend who I first reached out to, who was living across the country. She was working on a novel. And the reason I say her name is because she is actually now officially our dramaturg and my playwright's consultant on the play. So she's in the program, in the credits. This is very much her project too. But she was writing a novel, and another friend of mine, Hannah Majorano, was writing poetry, and I was writing a screenplay. So we were like, we have all these different things, but yet if we could just share them, at least we're holding ourselves accountable to getting 5 pages done every 2 weeks, amidst the craziness that is life. So it was every 2 weeks on Zoom, especially when we were all living in separate places. And now, magically, we all live nearby, and it ended up shifting to being all of us in person. But then it shifted into being, oh no, this play is really happening. And so they've been so gracious to, I can't tell you how many drafts they've read, how many middle of the night panic texts I've sent, how many different versions of scenes they've seen and experienced. And I will never find the words for how grateful I am to them, and how much I agree that every writer would just be so blessed to have people who are willing, even if their projects are entirely different, even if their styles are different, just someone who's not only willing but excited to read your work and share it with you, and encourage it. And yeah, it's really special. It's really something so special. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. I almost teared up when you're like, I can't find the words. I was like, I'm gonna cry.
there's not, because there's
so
just
sweet.
not. It's yeah,
amazing.
creative friendships that have roots or grow into creative collaborations. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, truly. Yeah. And when you're writing your script and making sure you get your 5 pages every 2 weeks, do you have time that you set aside to, okay, on this day from this time to this time, I'm going to sit down and write? Or are you more of like, I'll write when I have the inspiration to write? Or do you have a process? I guess is the question.
All I've ever wanted is a process. All I've ever wanted. It's just, if there was just a way to make myself...
Yeah, I would love to be a habitual person.
Right. I've tried this thing where like there's a coffee shop down the street from me that I love, and in the morning it's so quiet, and I love to go there and sit down and be one of the first ones there, and it's perfect. And I've tried, and I'll do it. I'll go. Nice. But then suddenly it's just not. I'm doing everything but. So I'm very much a person who ends up working when I'll have an idea when I'm not. I'll almost only have ideas when I'm not trying to. It's mostly when I'm walking or trying to get somewhere, or like on the streetcar or in the shower, and then I'll have the idea and I have to drop everything and try to get this down, or at least an inkling of it, so that with my fake process time I can then build it out. When I trick myself into having a process, I'm just, how about you? Like, do you?
Yeah, again, same. Tried. It'll work for like a little bit and then it dissipates. And yeah, and the same, like I'll get the best ideas are when I'm busy doing something else, and I'm like, or you ever have that when you're working on something else, or I'm at my job and I'll be like, I could be doing so many things right now. And then you get home and you're like, I have time to do those things. You're like, no. No. It
only wants to be when you can't. And then you have to find it. And I think there is something, obviously I'm just making excuses. I think there's something magical about that. Yeah. But also, I honestly, can't do it any other way.
Yeah, as you were saying it, I was like, what? I think it's just creativity tries to meet capitalism, and it just doesn't work, Like this whole set time to be writing and set time to be good. Make sure you have a morning routine and then you write and treat it like your full-time job. That's capitalism and creativity, and they just don't mesh. It's like oil and water.
100% agree. 100 and a million% agree. There's it's just not, there's no way to make it be that way, because it's not the same as, it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit. I just totally agree.
Like forced creativity.
Yeah, and like forcing, I feel like some we'll sort never of really be good. Yeah, it just, of course it, there are deadlines, and there are, the actors need to get to know the script and everything like that, but it just, absolutely, on this sort of structured, regimented, it just, you can do it, but it's not, well, or frankly, I can't do it, but one can do it. I can imagine a world where it can be done. And it just wouldn't have the same, it's just not how it works.
Yeah, because you hear about so many creativity to flow.
Totally.
It doesn't really allow flow.
You hear about so many incredible experiences where people, for a full year write every day, but then they won't for like 2 years, and that's just another way.
And I love that for them.
Flows. I do, I do too. And I just think that, like, no matter, even if you get to a regimented place, at some point it's going to end up needing to go back into flow state. And of course we all need to pay rent and pay the bills and everything like that, but the more that we can keep our creativity separate from the confines of the capitalist machine, It just, yeah, I'm
It's
fully
a
with
journey.
you. Yeah.
It's a journey. It's a struggle.
Oh, sure it is. It
But
sure
yeah.
is.
Well, I'm just glad to hear that you don't have a structured routine, because every time I talk to successful creators who are doing things, I'm like, and what are we doing wrong? But no, I don't think there's a wrong way to do it after talking to so many people. Everybody's got their own way, and you figure it out what works for you, right? So.
100%, yes. Because there is, I mean, there is for sure a way to make, for some people, like for some of my friends, they write, you know, every morning in the coffee shop, and it just works well for them, and they just know how to toggle between the times when they're feeling the inspiration and the times they don't. So it's one of those things that you just learn by doing, and everyone's going to have their own way, and there's no wrong and there's no right.
Absolutely. And a couple more questions for you. If you could tell your younger self any advice, your younger creative self, starting out on your career, what advice would you give them?
I love that question so much. And I think it would be, don't try to imagine all of the things that can go wrong. Don't try to imagine them, because they will lead you to behave in a way that supposes that they've already happened. In a way, if you imagine them, in a way they've happened, even if it's only in your brain.
Yes.
Don't bother. Just don't think of everything that might go wrong and all the ways it might not work out. Don't spend the time. Don't let those exist even in the pretend world.
Yeah. That's because then even you're with your, like you said, your behavior, you'll move like you're trying to avoid them.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Like you'll move different.
You'll move different. You'll protect yourself from something that wasn't even in the real world yet, and suddenly you've made it real yourself. And of course, this is so much easier said than done. But I wish this is I will say this is something I work on now, and I wish younger me could have started working on it a little earlier. I think we might have had a lot more time for sitting in the coffee shop brainstorming instead of worrying about all the things that might not ever come to pass or might go terribly, terribly wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And let's be honest, things will go wrong. So let's just focus on them when they do.
Exactly. Like, cross that bridge when you come to it. Don't.
Exactly.
I feel like that's, yeah. Instead of sitting down and being like, well, if I think of every single possible catastrophe that could occur, then at least I've thought of all of them and none of them will surprise me. But frankly, probably the thing that's going to happen will be something I didn't think of. Didn't think of anyway. So why bother making this catalog? Yeah,
absolutely.
Just let it be what it's going to be. Cross the bridge when you come to it, and oh my gosh, just believe in the process. Just believe in it, and that's something I'm telling my present self too. But definitely what I would tell my younger self.
Amazing. I love that answer. Yes, absolutely. Skip the step of worrying about, which is impossible. You lay, like, I'm not impossible, but like it is an exercise because you just lay in bed at night and you're like, oh my God, I'm thinking about all the terrible things. But yeah, just skip that step. Skip that step and
just don't let it be part of the whole thing. Yeah. It's gonna happen. It's gonna yeah. Don't let it stop you from doing. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. And because you're a writer, if you were to give this, I know, I just set you up. So sorry. If you could give this chapter in your life a title, what title would you give it?
My instinct, and then we're just gonna roll with it. Doing the scary thing.
Ooh, doing the scary thing. I love. And what's the current scary thing? Is it the putting on this show?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. Yeah.
Oh my god.
We're doing the scary thing. Chapter.
That's amazing.
Whatever. I was gonna throw a number. I was like, what am I?
Chapter wherever we're at in the book.
Chapter this one.
I love that. Do the scary thing. That's amazing. What scares you most about putting on this show?
I think what scares me most is having it be, I mean, just the vulnerability of having your words, as you know, like heard and spoken is so deeply scary. It's just a very vulnerable thing. I'm in the show as well. I'm playing one of the roles in the show, and it's been so interesting, the process of like being like, okay, now I'm gonna go to my actor brain and just try to not think about this script as, you know, someone separate. So I guess just the idea of, you know, we got through the creative team seeing the words, and we've gotten through the cast speaking the words and knowing the words and making them their own, and we got through having to hear it, and now it's going to be hopefully exponentially more people coming into the world that you created in your brain.
Yes.
So that's definitely a fear, just like probably just a blanket writer fear. I would say the scariest thing though for this is the gravity and the responsibility of the subject matter of this show. My biggest, worst, you know, scary middle of the night fear is it being misunderstood or misconstrued or that, or just that it doesn't say what I hoped, wanted, intended.
Right.
That's the biggest fear, for sure. But I'm sure that's true of almost anything you create, is that you want people to see what you were seeing and what you were saying and what you were hoping they would share with you in the experience of receiving it. So of course it feels very elevated given what we're exploring. But I think it's the universal writer creator creative experience. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely relate with the fear of being misunderstood or, you know, saying the wrong thing, anything like that. And like, my intention is not to harm or hurt or to misinform,
Right.
or anything like that. But also it's really hard that how it's received and how it's interpreted is not my problem. Like it's not my job and it's not my problem. That's really a hard thing to release and let go as well. So yeah,
Totally.
definitely
I
part of the
completely agree.
creative process.
And such a great way of putting it too, how you just said, like, it's not, it's not part of
Right.
your
As much as I would
work.
love to control it.
Right. Like, what if I just sat in the corner and every time I just went, oh, and just in case it wasn't,
Yeah.
if you missed this.
Right? Exactly.
No, we can't. We
Yeah.
can't. And we shouldn't. And my gosh, I would hate if I had to. But just part of you
That's true.
always feels like, oh, it's something about taking this little, releasing it out, and
Yeah.
it will go where it will go, and it will be received how it will be received, or not. And that is the process that we've all embarked on.
We've all
Over and
signed
over.
up for.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I think it's going to be incredible. I'm so excited to see it on opening.
I'm so excited you're coming. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my God, my pleasure. My pleasure. But yeah, tell everybody once more where they can see it and the dates, and then I'll set you free.
Absolutely. So, Romeo Pimp. Whoa. Starting off strong. Romeo Pimp having its world premiere at the King Black Box Theater. It's running September 17th, which is 1 week today. September 17th, opening night, running through to October 5th. We run every Wednesday through Sunday at 8 p.m. Doors are at 7:30, and on Wednesdays we have Arts Worker tickets. So those are the days to get in with Arts Worker pricing.
Amazing. That is awesome. I'm so excited to see the show. All the best. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see it and then see what you do next, because clearly there's no stopping.
Thank you so much, Alison. Thank you so much for having me and for this wonderful conversation and for your incredible questions. And I'm excited to meet you in person.
Yes, likewise. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much for watching and for listening. Be sure to grab your tickets for Romeo Pimp. Opening night is already sold out, so those tickets are not going to last long. Be sure to grab them before they're gone. And if I don't see you at the theater, I'll see you in the next interview.